Welcome to the Fantasy Happy Hour. Fantasy Happy Hour. Presented by Sportsneak. With your hosts, Justin Sauce and Terry Licious. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Boom. Welcome back. Thursday nighter here. Episode 68, I believe, because we skipped one, but if it's wrong, maybe it's 68, I believe. We got the 2-5 New York Jets versus the 3-5 Indianapolis Colts on a Thursday night showdown here. Colts are coming off a tough OT loss to the Derrick Henry-less Titans here now that he's injured. Whereas we got the Jets coming off of a big win against the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike White, the big name coming out of Sunday here, rookie with an impressive win, 37 for 45 and 405 yards. So what a game for Mike White. You know, you're thinking Zach Wilson's going to be the answer here. And all of a sudden you got another QB problem with Mike White coming up. He's not the only name coming off the Jets' big week here. I'm sure you'll be able to outline it a little bit. But let us know what you got for this Thursday night showdown, Taryn.
Well, I'm stunned at this total. First thing I looked at, 46.5 for a Jets versus Colts game. That all seems to be a bit biased to what happened last week. I don't know if I see it hitting that over, but I mean, last week the Jets looked good and they've kind of been coming on. Their offense has been coming on a little bit more in the last couple of weeks. 10.5 point favorites though in the Colts. Colts very good defense. So I guess we'll have to see how this one plays out. I like points in this one too. I think this one's a fun game. I mean, prior to this last week, I think we all saw this as a blowout game. We all saw this as a Colts win pretty clearly. And then Mike White comes out and shows us that there's still some life there in Jets Kingdom. But other injuries, it looks like there's not too many in this one. T.Y. Hilton is out, so you're going to see the Pittman takeover that's already been occurring before he was out. So I don't think that's a big change. And then watch the news on Corey Davis and Tevin Coleman on the Jets side. Those are the two Q tags that I see. I don't know if Corey Davis will play. He's kind of had an injury every week, and then hopefully you never really know. But I think the first thing to think about in this game is the big three on the Colts. The Colts have three guys that get all their fantasy kind of output and big numbers, and that's Jonathan Taylor lately, who's been huge in the receiving game. I think he had 122 on the total yards last week and a touchdown. And then Pittman, 2 touchdowns last week, 10 on 15 targets. So he's clearly taken over as their number one receiver, and he looks really good. He's high pointing balls at a ridiculous rate. And then Carson Wentz is the other guy who seems to be pretty consistent in the 20-point range. And then past there, it's take your shot on the touchdown. Lately, it's been the tight ends. So Mo Alley-Cox, Jack Doyle, trade that off. But I mean, the big three for the Colts is where I start every lineup in this week. And then Jets Nation is all about passing to running backs. I don't get it. Like if you go look at the last 2 weeks, I wrote it down here. Last week, Michael Carter had 9 for 95 through the air. And then Johnson had 5 for 71 and 1 through the air. That was over half of, just shy of half of Mike White's pass yardage was to running backs. I don't know. And then if you go to the week before, it actually was the same. So the two leading receivers on the team were Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. So it's back-to-back weeks where they're both the best fantasy plays, it seems, on outside of the quarterback on this team. I don't know what to say when you go to that, like the Jets side, other than like it's 2 pass catching running backs. And then Mike White kind of gets in off that because he just keeps dumping off. So I went and I started building a lineup and I said, I need a core 4. So for those who don't play a lot, if you're going to play in the cheap or the low dollar entry stuff and you want to enter 3 lineups, I would suggest picking a core 4 for showdown. It's not enough guys in a game, but select 4 guys and then play with the bottom 2 in your lineup. So I went right away to everything that anyone would expect of this game, except I went captain Michael Carter. This guy's been really, really good. Last 2 weeks, he had 32.2 DK points. He's 19 and 24 touches in the last 2 weeks. And like I said before, he's getting targets at a ridiculous rate, 8 and 9 targets in the last couple of weeks. And he's almost broke the 100-yard bonus in both weeks. So he just missed it on receiving side. And then he's the running back in the red zone too, it seems. So he's getting all the running work within the 10s, like So you're going to see him get the 2-yard touchdown over Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson seems strictly a passing kind of down back and gets about 3-5 touches on the ground. Watch Tevin Coleman news. I don't know if he'll snake much of this, but he tends to do that. But he is cheap, so he might be an option to throw in as a secondary guy. And then you go to the big three I put in. I think every lineup should have these big three, especially in this game. The Jets defense is not good. Jonathan Taylor, I think, has got to be locked in your lineup. He's just been playing too well, 20.7 on average per game. And he's getting lots of receiving work. So he's 2 to 3 out of the backfield. Seems like they've moved on from Marlon Mack. We might see a trade here today. We're on the trade deadline day for the football season. And then I put Michael Pittman in here. I mean, the guy is getting more targets than I think every other receiver on the roster in every game. So you're going to see, high fantasy output out of him. Now, the one I do say you can probably trade out is Carson Wentz here. I have him in, but you could put in Mike White if you want, because Mike White and his running backs, like we said, can stack together quite easily. And it saves you about $800 on DK. So you go there, and then the last two is a filler, but you have to find cheap guys. And it is tough in this game because I looked at pricing today, but a couple I came up with, Ashton Doolin on the side of the Colts. He's kind of that third receiver now because they have so many injuries through their kind of receiving corps. So you can go there. Both tight ends are expensive. They're, I think, both above 4K, 5K. Moali Cox, I think, is 6K. So those are tough to fit in if you're not going to kind of cheapen out somewhere else. If you can get in Ty Johnson, you can replace him with Michael Carter, I think, if you think maybe this game kind of takes a turn. So he's a guy like Elijah Moore, again, 6K. Like, these guys are tough to fit in. Like, it just doesn't work with the lineup I started. So Denzel Mims was the one I came up with that can fit because he's only 2K. Him and Keelan Cole are down there in 2K range, and they're kind of getting work. And if you look at how many receivers saw work in the Jets side, holy shit. There was I think 9 different guys. Braxton Berrios got in the end zone, the guy that just never seems to leave the NFL, but plays like a backup role to everyone. But yeah, I think that's where you got to go. You got to play with the cheap guys and hope you hit in this game. Kickers, I wrote down Amendola. He's okay. Likely not going to outscore some of the players.
The both kickers are pretty meh. Because we got Amendola. He's had a not bad last 2 weeks, but he's still over the season averaging 4.4 fantasy points per game. Like, you really need him to have a week here to make it worth it, because they're cheaper, but they're not like that cheap where it's like, oh yeah, play a kicker, right? And then you got Blankenship, who's hurt, so you got Badgley in on the other side. And although he's 100% for everything, it's still only averaging 7.33 fantasy points per game. So, I mean, I guess if you're doing your core 4 lineup and you want to do one with, maybe put one of the kickers in, it might be worth it. But even then, at the price, like, you're probably better off and the amount of fantasy points they've accumulated over the season, you're probably better off either taking betting on Colts defense or taking one of these depth receiver options and just hope they get, either a couple of receptions or a TD, because the points for the kickers has been pretty much null.
Yeah, there hasn't been very many times where a kicker's been in a winning lineup either. It's pretty tough to get them in because they need about that 11 to 15 range. Mm-hmm. They only hit that, I don't know, probably 10% of games. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. And you need them to hit one big field goal.
Yeah.
And so
there's certain kickers you like for that. Like Justin Tucker is always a good one because he's safe to say he's going to kick 50-yarders pretty consistently.
Yeah. And it might be worth it if you had even if you had like Blankenship healthy, because he's been pretty good, but even then he kind of struggled, I think, the past few weeks before he got hurt, but he's been out for 3 weeks now. So, and you've had Badgley to get some stats. It's not like you don't know what you're working with here. So I'd say probably fade him.
Yeah. I think the better option in that price range is probably the Colts defense, actually. Mm-hmm. I think out of all the defense and kickers I would take, it's probably the Colts. They're one of the most consistent fantasy defenses. They get about 8 points. Now all they have to do is, intercept Mike White, who is currently shining star. But I mean, this is set up to be, it's a home game too for the Colts. This could be a bad game. This could be ugly.
I kind of like the Colts defense in this because they've been, if you look at their past fantasy points, they've been consistently getting, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. And right there alone is, you're close to your 8 points. And if they get one defensive TD, well, that's your extra cheap option there for the depth, especially if they overwhelm the Jets, because it is the Jets after all. But
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, this is why you got to be mixing and matching with your core four, right?
Yeah. I think the one thing I would consider rotating out is actually getting rid of quarterbacks in this one and saying that the running backs get all the touchdowns. I mean, on the side of the Jets, if you just take Michael Carter and Ty Johnson, you could, accumulate, 50% of the fantasy points on that team just by taking those two running backs. But they price them like they both get a lot of receptions. So it's kind of tough. Jamison Crowder, too, I think will go underlooked in this game. He has been their best receiver with Corey Davis out. If Corey Davis is back, I don't know what his rapport is with Mike White. He was quite good with Zach Wilson, but that middle ground, I think, is going to be the dead zone because there's a lot of guys that are hard to price.
Right? But yeah, you even look at someone like Braxton Berrios. He's like $5,600 or something. He was, 2 receptions last week, but he got the TD. Yeah. I mean,
Elijah Moore too is a good one. He's I think he was 5,600, but he kind of seems like he's a rookie this year, coming into his own, and he seems to see the most targets of the last couple of weeks outside of Jamison Crowder. So he's kind of the number 2. He plays a lot of snaps too, so there's another option in that mid range. That mid range is just tough because once you play any of the top 4, your pricing just gets really, really tight.
Yeah.
Well,
is that it for you?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, well, sweet. Thank you guys for watching. We're filming this one pretty early on Tuesday morning. I'm in the midst of moving, so I'm in a new place. Got to set up my office yet. But thanks for watching. If you like it, give us a like. Let us know who you're playing in the comments. If you enjoyed it, give us a subscribe. It would really help. We're so close. Well, not so close, but we're getting closer to that 200 mark. And we keep saying we're coming with more different content. We're working on it. I just got to get set up in my new office, and then we'll be able to do some different shit and get things rolling here. But it's been a good 2021 season so far. And thank you guys for watching. Peace.